Oh, good afternoon, everyone. We're in for some great information today from Doree Kent, who has her degree, I think a couple of degrees that she can talk to you
Masters in
about.
social work.
She's got her master's in social work. And she works with young people in lots of different ways, marriage advice, before and after as well, I think. And let's see, I think you used to work for Catholic Human Services.
Yes, and when COVID hit, everything shut down and all of my clients had to leave property, basically,
Like
including
everyone
me.
else, when COVID hit, everything changed up, so. But
Yeah,
we're all getting back on the road to recovery, I think, in more ways than one. I'll just turn this over to Doree, and thank you so much, Doree.
all right. Now we're thinking like an hour, but if you like more, I don't know exactly how the clock will fall, but probably an hour and a quarter, something like that. All right, so my name is Doree Kent. I grew up in Alpena. I went to Lincoln School. Then I went to LOA school. Oh, I went somehow to St. Bernard School. That was a game changer. Those women, Dominicans, were such great fans of mine. And that lasted for years. And even one of those nuns sent me a card every Christmas practically. But then I went on to LOA, which was fine too. So a lot of things in Alpena were really good, but I felt good that we had left the north side because I got so much more going on as soon as I went to LOA and then on to high school here. I managed to be a pretty good student, and right along with me was my husband, Tim, and I thought he was kind of like, he came from Ossineke, I said to myself. I was wrong. So I always had my eye on this guy because we went to a party together in somebody's basement. You probably know some of these people by last names. Aurora Dunstan, she was one of my friends. So the thing that happened, I think that sparked our relationship was that he walked in and I didn't understand that he had a pretty outfit on and he had, what are these that you put in your sleeves when you go out? Cufflinks. Okay. So I thought, that's interesting. Then he asked me to dance. I was almost 14. He was only 5'1". I was 5'2" already. So there we were learning to dance. He did this the wrong way somehow. I didn't care. He had curly black hair and he was interesting. He was very quiet, but I knew from what Aurora Dunstan told me that he was a very fine trumpet player and he was only 14. And so that stayed with me. And so anyway, that was a very happy evening. But then it just sort of like went this way. And I kept writing in my diary things like, I don't think he's that great. Well, I learned more about that. So he switched to my best friend, who was the salutatorian. First there was MacArthur, Terry MacArthur, his best friend. And then I forgot who was, then my best friend. And then Aurora was good at high school. And then Tim, let's see how to follow that up. Tim was 0.1% away from me in high school. So that was interesting. Anyway, I don't know if you want more of that or you want more of this. This, that. I think I'll intermingle it. So these are the people. I went after Catholic Human Services gave us all the boot, and I thought, at a time when people needed this, why did this happen? I thought, I'm a social worker. I could have put it back together. So anyway, this is the Gottmans. There they are, research-based marital therapy. But you're not even there yet. You don't have marriage problems yet. John and Julie Gottman, I learned from hearing things and then reading things about what works they had, So I was excited about going all the way to Seattle and getting a little more primed for how to do what they did. And that's how I'm here. So I'm going to give you kind of a shock occasionally. Is that okay? We're grown-ups. So this research-based thing, my real name was Doree Kent. The Mintons were a real, I don't know where I came from because I didn't act like them. I was one of the biggies at the high school, and my mother, before I was born, obviously, she was 16, dropped out of school, and she was a really smart woman. I learned more and more as she got into her 60s and 70s, because she was even selling houses left and right in Florida. Anyway, we'll put that on hold. So 8 years ago, let's see. Now I've got to sometimes take off my eyes and sometimes put them down, but I think I can read it. About 8 years ago, I heard about that seminar about marriage. Gottman, John, and Julie became the best in their field, okay? And they made a lot of jokes. That made it all the more fun. It taught me something. I didn't have to be like serious. John's ideas just exploded with creativity. So I did it 3 times, and they each cost like maybe $1,500 to go, but I was pretty certain this is what I wanted. So this one, you hold on to your hat on this one, especially you. You're too young to be here. Okay, John Gottman's first lecture was about porcupines. So John Gatman moved, let's see, he said that couples therapy should help couples have better relationships. Gottman was acquainted with Masters and Johnson. You probably all know that, right? Masters and Johnson. They were working hard, I think, at either Purdue or someplace a little lower than Michigan. Okay, Gottman was acquainted with them, and they studied sexual dysfunctions. Then he was introduced to Dr. Kinsey, a really famous guy at the University of Indiana. His first name is Paul, so we'll be familiar with Paul when I say it. Paul wanted us to know about all the strange things about sex. You didn't gasp. We're all old. Okay. So Paul wanted to know all those things and to share it with it. He found porcupines having sex was really interesting. Okay. And this is the scenario. The male porcupine has a problem to solve. Okay. If he mounts when the female is tense, he'll get hurt. He walks behind her, then he comes back and sits in front of her, and he puts his paws on her face. Does anybody want to do that right now? Come on, you do it to her. And, oh yes, okay, then I know you're here. Okay. The male porcupine is he goes into a little dance in a way. Then he goes back again and he checks to see if she's ready after he stroked her face a few times, many times. And he goes back and strokes her face again. And the male porcupine, he is very wise, and we can learn from him. Okay. So Gottman says that the emotional connection between people, between human beings, is essential. And touch and massage and eye contact. Like some couples are just out there and they don't really stay connected, you know, when they hear their wife saying something or their husband saying something. Yeah, they're on the iPhone. Okay. So partners need to know a lot about each other's emotional and physical preferences. And often they don't. Okay, if they want to be masters of marriage with that strong, this is one of their statements, is that a strong marital house keeps you together. And I'll get into that specifically after I read all his stuff here. Sherry Height was also into groundbreaking stuff about sexuality. And that her copies of this is amazing. Maybe we'll have a guessing game. Her work came out in 1975. Let's see how close one of you can be to how many copies of this sold. Just give us a guess, okay? Don't think too much. How many? Anybody else? Go for it.
2,500, 3,000.
45 million. I just get goosebumps when I read these things. Okay, so came out 45 million copies. It said the same thing, the same wisdom that comes from porcupines. She said that too many of us are overly focused on the deed, intercourse. Okay. But the act of sex isn't as interesting as the events leading up to it. You get this? Okay. In fact, Gottman continued, if you consider everything sexual, stroking someone's hair, kissing, massaging, cuddling, handing somebody Valentine's, candlelight dinners, aren't those nice? Leaning in, smiling. Okay, let's everybody do this. Winking. If you can do it. Some people can't do that. It doesn't matter that he ejaculated or had an orgasm. It's okay. Sex is not a game-like thing. It's about affection. And it's about creativity and feeling good with someone you care about. It's about friendship. Gottman closed with this zinger. And I don't know whether I should share this. How many think you're ready for this because you're grown-ups? Raise your hand or leave the room. Okay, I came to this and I was writing, taking frantic notes, so I had to get this straight. Gottman closed with this zinger. Now you got to listen to the zinger, guy. I can't do it until he sits down. Okay. Get it? If your penis is soft, are your fingers also soft? That's for the aging group, I think. He didn't, I don't know. I was writing quite fast. Okay, so that was there. And I thought, what a guy, what research, you know, he had a whole ton of research doing that with, I don't know, alacrity, I could say. That word I could remember, but I couldn't remember this other one I needed. Okay, so John Gottman came up with stories and ways of presenting that you could remember. So this one is John Gottman's 4 Horsemen of the Marital Apocalypse. So it's going down the drain. And if you don't want it to go down the drain, you better figure out some of these things I'm going to pass out. So one of the things is criticism. So think about that in your marriage. Nobody likes to be picked on, okay? And your partner's, let's see, attacking your partner's personality or character, usually with the intent of making someone right or wrong. There is often, shouldn't always be right or wrong. There are generalizations under that category of criticism. The four horsemen are, just think of it, these horsemen can gallop into your, wherever you are, and just mess things up, okay? So generalizations, you always, you never, get them out of your vocabulary, okay? You're the type of person who, let's cut that one off. Why are you so, why do you put up? No, why do you put me down? You know, those are the kind of things you want to shove away and try really hard not to do them very often. That's number one of the horsemen. The second is contempt. You think that you're like, if as you're starting out, your thinking probably is like, I'd never do that. I would never say that to my wife or whatever. But you do. You sometimes do the wrong things. Okay. So contempt is the second one, attacking your partner's sense of self with the intention to insult or psychologically abuse them. That's when there's a cascade that might fall and you begin to wonder if you got the right person. I sometimes think that, but not very often. Okay, insults. Okay, this is a whole litany of bad things. You bitch, you bastard, you wimp, you're fat, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're a slob. Those don't do well if you want a good marriage. I think you know that. And so, hostile humor, maybe saying something that looks like it's friendly, but he wants to kind of jab you someplace. Okay, sarcasm, mockery. I can't remember what mockery would mean because I've never done it. What's making fun of somebody and maybe they don't realize what they've just done. Defensiveness is another one. So now we're on 3, and there are only 4 of the 4 horsemen, but they're important. Keep this in your mind. Defensiveness, seeing yourself as the victim and warding off a perceived attack. You know, somebody's feeling defensive and they want to just get out of the room, kind of. Making excuses like external circumstances beyond your control forced you to act in a certain way. It's not my fault. How many people say that? It's not my fault. And I didn't, and that's it. They just leave this in a did form. Okay. Disagreeing and then cross-complaining. That's not true. You're the one who drank all the way to the bar. I did this because you did that. So that's cross. You did that, and I'm going to get you back. Never do that, you young boy. Okay, this budding, start off agreeing, but end up disagreeing. Oh, that means, yes, but, a constant, yes, but you did this. Get rid of that. Now there's one at the end. It's called stonewalling. And stonewalling's interesting. Withdrawing from the relationship. Say you're somewhat mad for more than a week or something, and there's your wife or significant other, and they're kind of walking it back, not understanding what you just said to them, basically. Withdrawing from the relationship means like go pouting someplace and go too far into the woods. My husband recently went too far into the woods and he was trying to get this stump going and the pine began to fall. It didn't hit him actually, but just, this is 5 days ago. That's why it's right in my mind. But behind your shin here, it's not the front, is the shin. What's the back? Whatever it is, it was there and it twisted Tim and he couldn't get up. He's only 73 and a half. He never thinks he's old. Anyway, so every day I started giving him ibuprofen. This is sort of like how you make amends in a way. When women take care of you, that's a good thing. I'm still doing it. Okay, so sometimes it says, partners may think they're trying to be neutral when they're stonewalling. Gruff. They act as if they're speaking, but they're not speaking. Okay. There's partners may think they're trying to be just neutral, but stonewalling conveys disapproval. Like, I don't like what you just did, or you're no good, or there's something behind it that doesn't feel good. If you're stonewalling and have to walk away, whatever, it's a bad thing. So these are the things. It conveys disapproval, icy distance, separation, disconnection, smugness. Okay, stony silence, monosyllabic, mutterings, changing the subject, moving yourself physically away from the person you thought you loved. I'm out of here. I didn't mean that though. I'm not out of here yet. Now I've got a couple other cute things here. This is not from Gottman, but I thought this had a nice feel about it. So the priest was at the pulpit. Okay, he was in the middle of something here. And it said, let me start by telling you about a couple. They're pretty young, maybe in their 20s. Part of the fast track, maybe, working maybe 40 to 50 hours, which is kind of difficult to be in a relationship, 6 days a week. How were they ever going to make it? Okay, one Sunday in autumn, I actually got this from the pulpit. And so I was, again, writing down my statements here so I could give it to you about 50 years later. I keep everything. On Sunday, okay, this couple went to mass and the priest or the minister introduced his sermon. Today, I'm going to talk about the 3 major difficulties that can make marriages fail. You know how priests are sometimes. They're so out there that it sometimes seems strange when they're almost shouting at the congregation. Anyway, let me say that again. Today, I'm going to be nice. There should have been a woman right there. Today, I'm going to talk about the 3 major difficulties that can make marriages fail. He goes on to say 3 main areas. See if you can think of what would be the 3 main things that would stifle a marriage. Right up front, you're newly married. Can you think back? Throw it out. You want what?
Honesty.
That would be, yeah, this is difficulties. But that was a good try though. He goes on to say 3 main areas are money, sex, and kids. The wife is feeling kind of giddy right now. Her name's Donna. She nudges her husband and says, hey, we're doing pretty good. We don't have any of them. Money, sex, or kids. I really like that one. Cute, yes, very cute. Do you guys want to say anything? Just drop off a thought you had about maybe when you were at a time having a difficult time? Of course, you had no difficulties. You buried it. Well, I'll continue and maybe you'll come around. You've got to help me here a little bit. This was something I just came upon. I had this there are notebooks this big that the Gottmans presented us, and we could take it home. And they had a whole stack of coffee cups. And at the end of the thing, they wanted to get rid of them. So I bought a lot of them, and they were really worthwhile. And I'm trying to think back, why did I think it was so cute? That'll have to stay, I guess, where it is. Let's see. Some of the things that they designated as keep the happiness. Okay, how to keep the happiness. Even if you did do something wrong, you can usually figure out how to get around it by saying, I really didn't mean that. My husband does that all the time. And then he's really great. Okay, 5 hours per week. Couples who improve their marriage will restructure and have 5 hours of time together, approximately. I think that's quite a bit of time. I don't think in the very beginning, when you have children, you might not have 5 hours to give. Okay, when you're parting, at the end, maybe your husband is going out the door to work or something. Most of us don't have to work though. Don't part in the morning without knowing one interesting thing that will happen in your spouse's day. Can you think of anything that when your guy came home and you met him and you knew he was really happy or something? Can you think of one interesting thing? See, for me, when Tim came home from the Chicago Symphony, I was always, wow. This one time, the Chicago Symphony was doing a premiere concert where everything's supposed to be perfect. Well, Barenboim was the conductor, and he lost his place in where he was. So he started over, But what Tim knew is that he had X number of notes that he needed to finish the concert, but nobody knew when it was going to be except him. So, on that same concert, the lights started dimming and going out on Orchestra Hall. On this supercharged night, everyone is waiting for this, and all of the newspapers are trying to grab a piece of was this a good concert or not? That was a crazy response too in the Tribune. So Tim was listening. Barenboim got his thing up, what's this? This is the baton, right? So interestingly, everything was quiet, so quiet. It wasn't supposed to be quiet, but the audience didn't know it wasn't supposed to be quiet. And they didn't know that the lights were going on purpose or not on purpose, whichever. So it was real exciting when he came home and gave it to me little by little of what he did. He said he understood exactly. Somebody else in the brass section had to go, and Tim's response was bump, bump on the trumpet. And he did it. He closed it and everyone thought it was perfect. They didn't know until the next day. And then even the Chicago Tribune kind of like they acted as if this was normal. So those pieces of your life, don't put them away, bring them out and have this fun game with you can't believe. And then every time Tim would go, I should have brought him, but he wouldn't come. He's working on Besser Museum stuff. But so every time that he would go, let's see if I can remember, to remember whether he was, I think it was just a joke, but I'm not sure. He'd say, you know, this is one of those older people. What am I going to insert there? He did the upside down of a, you know, like this. But what was it? Something, something, wow it and watch. And I still can't remember. I always say, okay, tell me that one again. Okay, so I hope you guys get to do that with each other and have some fun with it. And then he came home. This was when he just auditioned for the Chicago Symphony, and there are like 280 people who want to get that chair. And Tim was only one of them. So he was coming down from the elevator, and there was a really nice black dude who always talked to Tim, and Tim talked to him. And when they got to the point where Tim had to play all by himself in front of, like, well, as each person left, then it would get slower and slower. So there might have only been 100 left, but he finally got out of the elevator, and the older black man said, "Do this for your wife. Do this for your wife. Do this for your wife." And that just was so lovely. I wasn't there to watch anything, but that we always pointed to that as so sweet. And let's see, so the whole thing was over. You had to wait to find out if you were the one. I'm getting teary. So anyway, he came to, I was at home. It was late. It was like 10:30. He got off the L and came up the 3 flights of stairs. We had 1 child at that time. I said, I knew he wasn't going to tell me. What was it? So, sorry. So here it is. I'm wondering, what's he going to tell me? He didn't get it, or he did get it? And so he kept Kevin, and he took him, we had gates so that the kid wouldn't get into mischief here or there. And there was Kevin, and Tim picked him up and he said, "We're going to the bathroom." Okay, so they went to the bathroom with Kevin on his whatever. And we had always put little nice sayings on the wall or on wherever we could in little spaces. And so when Tim came back, he just had this little note, handed it to Kevin, who's not even a year old. Kevin hands it to me, and he said, and Tim said, it took how long? Let's see. This is a bad one, or this is a good one. It takes 30 years or 25 years to become an overnight success. And that was that. Okay, so we're at what time? It's 2 o'clock. Are you going to go for another 20? You can't go for another 20? You have to go to the bathroom. Okay, let's take a pause, okay? Because I have everything messy here. I can fix it. You want 5 minutes? Okay, I'll just wait through and see who. Where am I going here?
Do they have recommendations that are written down?
Yeah, these sheets are like marital adjustment test scoring, add up points to the total score. Now, no, I'm not going to even do anything about that. So if I give everybody this marital testing thing, you and your spouse should be able to say circle, 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 and then you would do the other half of it, okay? I'm going to make this one easy, I hope. Okay,
I don't-
you don't agree on a lot of
Oh,
things?
very good. Very good.
Well, that can be fun too. Okay. You have a significant other or,
Yes.
okay. Oh, I didn't get it. All right. I like hearing stories. Like, would any of you like divulge something that was really happened that was intriguing, whether it was 50 years ago or whether it was less? Just a
I could tell
story.
you a story, but I'd have to do it privately. But I mean that.
I'm all ears.
What did Neil Armstrong
Oh,
What?
say
Oh, it
when
didn't
he
need,
stepped off? When he stepped foot on when he
Yeah.
exited the lander, okay, on the moon.
what the fuck?
No, no. Oh, no, he didn't say that.
It's so barren.
No.
No,
He said, good luck, Mr. Gorski.
who's who's Gorski?
okay.
Oh, was that just a guy he thought up?
Okay. He was a young lad playing baseball in his yard.
Oh,
Baseball went next to Mr. Gorski's yard,
Window.
next to his window, bedroom window. And out of that window came sex. If you want sex, I'll give you sex when that kid next door steps on the moon.
you got to write that down
It's
for me.
true.
I know. I
It's
think I actually heard that. That was great. That was good.
Well, that was
I don't think I could remember that,
only until Mr.
and you
Gorski-
remembered it.
Well, I recorded it on my computer. And it's on my phone. Okay? But
Okay.
it was, and it was for years and years until Mr. Gorski died.
And did he know?
And then he felt obligated, or he said.
Oh.
Here.
People would always ask him, who's this guy? They went through all of the Russian cosmonauts, they went through everything they possibly could, but they never pinpointed it there, but he finally, after this gentleman died, okay, he finally went back and told him.
Told him, and I bet it was a
Oh.
big.
Oh, I mean, I think it's just a stitch. Okay.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got to have another stitch here.
yeah.
Tell me your story a little bit, because this is the good one. That was a good one.
And it's
It kept you laughing probably for the last, how many years? Many years, you remembered it.
Yeah.
Hmm,
Let's see. Right, 64.
wow. Are you the
61.
largest? I mean, the highest number?
No. People that are behind us. 54, Sandy Parkett.
Oh, yeah. Paquette is a nice French name. Kim is French and Greek. So when I would look at him going through high school, and we weren't quite together because I thought he wasn't good enough. And it just was so intriguing to find that the guy I thought was just a nut from Ossineke made it to the bigs. No, well, these were what they gave us, and then I had to figure out what to do with them. Because, did I take your place? Sorry. I just used them because they were like free, what do you call it? The things, holders of all this stuff. Now I kind of lost my brain just switched.
Well, it makes me think back when I did adoption work, we did family assessments.
Oh, we did that too.
what-
I did.
What I always found was a response from those couples was that they were intrigued by and glad of having these kinds of questions to look back at because it helped them look at their own marriages
Yeah.
and find out a lot about themselves and question what their plans were for the future, what their goals together were, things like
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
That most other couples never had the opportunity to do. It was
Yeah,
because they were looking into adoption and assessing the strength of their relationships that they questioned these kinds of things and often said, I wish every couple took
Yes.
the opportunity to do this.
yeah,
So it's not necessarily something that someone goes in because of any type of problem necessarily, but a chance to assess where they're at, how they could be better members of that couple in terms of
yeah, being in
communicating and
tune.
appreciating each other.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
I
so I
agree
was
with
just
that.
curious
Now,
about
these I just
how
brought
this
out
works.
because I've had them for 10 years and not used them for the most part.
Oh,
Well, I
okay.
shouldn't say that because this is about 10 years ago that I worked with this, but I put it away and then I said,
So,
I need to do more with people.
You were counseling. Is this, what format did you follow? I guess that's
Oh, I
what
can't even remember that.
try to see
Uh-huh.
what things we can glean from your experience about being better members of a couple.
Yeah, during COVID, when they closed, I agreed that I had a swing outside and it was everything seemed nice except COVID was bad. And so I took clients and I didn't charge anything. And we'd sit there and we could sit there as long as we wanted. But then Tim would say, oh, that's the dinner. So I actually went on with some of those people and often people just drop by the wayside. Things like they're too tired about everything. So I can't say that most people have a great time in therapy because they don't use it. They don't take it with them. So that's why I grabbed a bunch of these and I unfortunately didn't have them all stapled together, but you'll get it. Now, is there any other cute story before we finish? What?
Can you top the one that I told?
No, I can't. And I was
No,
gonna leave
not-
you.
There's gotta be an equal out there somewhere.
Right. I think I need you to write that up again, because I'm a person who does a lot
Just
of,
remember,
I think Tim has that under his hat. I know he told me something exactly like that, or close.
I heard that too. How many years ago was that? Back in 1961?
What, the launching?
No, to be when you stepped on the booth.
Yeah,
So
no, it was later than that. I was in Europe and I was seeing it. I had right there in Timbuktu. Let's see, I can't remember exactly, but there we were watching it coming off, it's really intriguing.
What's the fun thing you recommend to couples that are having disagreements?
Be nice to each other. So you don't like that, but you don't have to scream about it.
Communicate, what's the best way to differences?
Well, that's maybe the next time I should show you. I brought with me, it cost like $250, but it was all well worth it for probably 5 couples. And I'd say, boy, when I went to this conference, I learned a lot. And one of it was they had added one more person, Susan something, and she's from Canada. And she talked about, the main thing was they were in front of a group and there were people who were dancing and it was perfect. She talked about how synchronicity and how listening to each other's vibes and stuff. I could grab one of these men here, but so there was this thing and it was the tango. And I was like, whoa, now I have that with me today, but you're not gonna have enough time. So how about we schedule that? It was, I'll show you a little bit of what it looked like. But well, this one was the Johnson lady who was from Canada. That you should be in tune with each other. I'm not sure if synchronicity is the perfect one, but trying to cultivate a habit with your partner so that you just warm up to the feel of each other. And maybe that takes away the negativity, you know? You can't just be, I don't know how to say the rest of the sentence right now, but it does work. I like when my husband and I have a little twitch or something that's negativity, then I keep coming and giving a touch of the butt. He likes it. I like it too. But we're interesting, I think, as a couple. We've never really had any big rows. So that's good. But I was worried though, because when he goes on tours, there was a Chinese woman, Sando. Sando didn't know how to speak English. So when they went on a tour, Tim said, "You want me to help you with that?" And so they had a really intense connection. I don't get real mad about things like that. I think she was very loving and caring and needed help with a zillion things like taxes and things like that. And he's still connected with her on the phone. So, and I get on the phone sometimes. "Hi, Sando, how are you?" But she was a fascinating woman, same age as we were at that time. She came into the orchestra at about 45 or something like that. One of the best in the world on fiddle. Should I stop?
Well, try to get most we can out of the information we brought.
Well, you want to come to the table? Well, like this one. This was a real important part of Gottman's stuff. He called it Sound Relationship House. And then if I put it up there, you'd see the things you really need to do or manage with like creating shared meaning. If each of you are going this way or this way, and it felt like that to me when I was at home and he was in the Chicago Symphony making all these things. So I started going on tours with him a lot, Australia, Japan, anywhere. And I got somebody to babysit, and that's how we handled that. There was too much distance, actually. So this sound relationship house, I got to see my own writing here. Each of the couples comes into a marriage with a culture of their own family members. You can't say, my family's, I'm exactly like my family. I hope I would dread that to me. Together, they work out their own ideas and shared rituals. So if you like to dance and you take it as a sport, kind of, that's a really nice thing to do together. Tim, not so much. But I have to just say, okay, well, maybe I'll go and do this. It's fine. So holidays, how you deal with holidays. Some people just think, what the heck, we don't need them. We don't need holidays. How about sickness? How do you deal with sickness? So those are the things, I don't have time to do this, but if you're a therapist and you have this, it's sometimes a little bit of a way of showing people how to do it better. Like if you're, I don't know, if you're ready to die, and that's a difficult stage, but we're running there, aren't we? Let's move on. Basic roles in your family, like occupation roles. Who gets to do what? I don't know whether who, found a big interest in whatever. The other person might have a big interest, but it sure did shock me when Tim came home and said, I don't think I want to do this for the rest of my life. I was just getting, flying a little in a good way, playing volleyball at the YMCA and doing things with other people because he wasn't around. Providers, let's see, creating meaning. This I can't do very easily here. Let me move this. Managing conflict comes in, and this little chart says the 4 horsemen soften the startup. Don't come at your wife or your loved one as if they're a jerk. So the 4 horsemen soften startup. There are 6 skills. I'll tell you them, okay? I have a few of these. Label and replace a 4 horsemen. Stop the criticism, basically. Make it a complaint, a statement like we, and instead of I think this, and we probably should think maybe we, and just play with that a little bit. Defensiveness leads to, you hope it leads to a change, accepting responsibility for what's your part of the problem. Okay, from defensiveness, why are you saying this to me? You don't want that. You want to say, okay, I know I did that, and I know that didn't feel so good for you. And then you sort of like lay it all out like a we thing, you together. So this is accepting influence. This is what I wrote. I'd really like us to go to church together. Well, some people don't want to go to church with their spouse, but it has to be like accepting influence. I'd really like this. Like to go to church. The obvious good thing would be, okay, honey, let's do that. Because Tim was always playing the Chicago Symphony on Sundays. We never went to church together. I did. I made a lot of friends. Unity Temple is a beautiful place in Oak Park, Illinois. And Frank Lloyd Wright, I was there, but I didn't know I was going to stay there for 25 years. I walked in. I was, wow. And my kids, as they got bigger and bigger. Do you know who Frank Lloyd Wright is? Yeah. Well, he had these wonderful places where kids could go and run and whatever after the church service, usually, except when they were really young and I had to grab them. Okay, so accepting influence. Is that where we were? Okay, this other one has effective repair and de-escalation. Important, really important. And this is the good things. Put some humor into your situation. Request for direction from the other person, I guess. What do I do that bothers you is better than saying, you nasty son of a whatever. you said something, he said something, and then it gets going into a craziness. There's such a thing as called physiological soothing. Managing your flooding, if everything is happening and you're getting overrun by everything, not good, is it? But soothing is. So what's kind of a soothing thing that you think really helps repair when you've just unloaded? Can you think of what that would mean here? Physiological soothing is like, yeah, or I'm sorry. How about I'm sorry 100 times? Not right on the spot, 100 though. I made some other ones up here. Compromising. You might not be on the same track. Tim does not like going out, so I got to find my friends. Today, you were my friends. Love maps, that's another thing that they have in store. And I have more of their DVDs that I could run by. Love maps. I can tell you in detail my first impression of my honey. Can you remember that? My first one was that thing in Aurora Dunstan's basement, and he did his thing with the wrong arm. But that was fine. I just thought, but he's got a lot of hair. He's got a lot of curve. Now, how could I really liked how much my husband was different. He was Greek, French, and all these things, and played the trumpet like a crazy man. He was out in the bars when he was 15 with these other people who were about 50, and he'd play like every Saturday or whatever it was. And he'd come on Monday, he'd come in to the band, and I'd look at him and I could tell you're just no sleep. But he got through high school. He was 4th and I was 5th in class. So what else? Fondness and admiration. Think about that a lot. You know, that's not hard. Just look at the fondness. I'm really proud of my partner. You can tell that today, right? I just talk more about him than I do me. It's a lot easier. I feel accepted and liked by my partner. I can easily list 3 things I admire with my partner.
Control.
What?
Control.
He is a controlling person, but I put my 2 cents in all the time. I'll say, honey, really, you really, what?
Listening to one another. So
Listening is really important. So I can easily list 3 things that I admire. So what would you say? What do you admire in this gal that you haven't quite finished the thing?
I'll say her humor, positivity,
That's good.
else. Yeah, I really get.
Does she look good?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Very-
Okay. And you don't have to look beautiful to be quite stunning in reality. Oh. You want to answer any other one then? What did we just ask you? Fondness and admiration is a big deal. It takes away a lot of the sins that have happened in the marriage. And for me, I go back years and years and years and I say, do you remember blah, blah, blah? And he says, yeah. And then I'll fill in the blank because his brain is so good. So I feel accepted and liked. I can I already did that one. Turning toward, I already said that one, I think. Negative perspective. I felt disappointed. I was angry. I thought my partner was manipulative. Sometimes those are difficult. Negative perspective, we got to kind of chomp it out. All right, I think we're done. I can't even talk anymore. Next time, you guys get to talk. I think you have so many stories in each of your lives. You stayed together, right? A long time. From the beginning?
And we're
to the
opposite.
end. And I think I was opposite. I was. Yeah. That's right. You're not on the same page. Yeah. Well, what talents does he have besides Armstrong?
No, he's very, takes care of everything.
What's it?
You, 8, 1, 2.
What the heck is that? And then you're standing there saying the same thing I just thought.
But he's gifted with mechanical, he takes care of the house, finances and all that.
Oh,
Do you have one?
you,
Wait,
1, 2.
muscle? Is that what you just said? Okay,
You ate one,
what is it?
you ate one also.
You ate one also. Oh.
You're at a cocktail party, you better. You ever eat a raw oyster?
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
oh, you ate one too?
When we were in France, Tim had this, there was this,
I feel
Bad.
that's.
okay, give me back your loved ones. Next time, if you ever come again, did you ever look at them?
Yes, I did.
What are some of the important events coming up in your partner's life and how does he or she feel about them? Well, that's not it. These are easy, too easy. Is that it?
Thank you.
You're welcome.